Three more parlays and player props to lock in for NFL Week 7. It's Austin. I'm back for a video that you normally don't get. We normally do a ton of other NFL videos, but this one posted on Sunday mornings, it's going to be three more props I love. Look, I love these ones. I want to make some money with you guys. Hopefully you guys want to make some money with me. Let's dive into it. We got three props plus one Underdog Fantasy entry we will talk about at the end of the video. Let's dominate this weekend. You guys all in? I certainly am. Before we talk about our picks, let's talk about Underdog Fantasy because they have the best deposit match offer right now on the market. I don't know how much longer it will go on to, so take advantage of it. If you sign up with our code COS, you get a 100% deposit match up to $500. Yeah, that's not a typo. It's $500. Take advantage of it right now. Link in the description. You also get this LeBron James free square, which you will see on the screen. And not only that, if you use our code, this is only for new users, you'll get a free square to use on the NFL too. That one's going to be either for Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Jalen Hurts. Look, Underdog Fantasy, we love them. We'll talk about them a little bit more and how I'm playing and hopefully making some money on their site a little bit later on in this video. But like I said, make sure you use our code COS or the top link in description. Let's hop into the picks. As a reminder, I do a bunch of other videos. We have our long shot parlay video. We have more props. We have our favorite spread picks. 3 other videos. I'll link them at the end of this one, in the pinned comment, and in the description of this video. Go check them out. You guys came here for picks. It's Sunday morning. We're trying to lock these in before the game start. First one, Jonathan Taylor. I like his over 69.5 rushing plus receiving yards, minus 115 on DraftKings. Now, if you're on the sports books, you can find this on Caesars, DraftKings. I believe Barstool has it. Flip has it. FanDuel normally has a line for this, and maybe they do by the time this video goes live, which I'm recording it late Saturday night. I know on Sleeper, PrizePicks, Underdog Fantasy, he's going to be in our entry later on in this video, have it too. If FanDuel should have a line for it. But either way, if I had to take one, if you're like, Austin, I don't have rushing plus receiving. Rushing yards would be my number one thing, and you can understand why when we talk about it in a second. But let's talk about Jonathan Taylor because he obviously got paid. He wasn't sitting out. He had this ankle injury. Suddenly he got paid. Oh, he's finally fully healthy, and here he is. And after getting paid, I think Jonathan Taylor's going to see a big uptick in production this week. But let's talk about him because in week 5 he returned to action coming off the IR. He came back, only played 15% of snaps, 6 carries, 18 yards, 1 catch for 16 yards. Obviously going under this line. In week 6 last week, he played 42% of snaps, 8 carries, 19 yards, 5 catches, 46 yards. So he got the ball in his hands. He's still under in both the first 2 weeks of him returning to action. But you saw last week, 33 snaps compared to 39 for Zach Moss. If we remember, Zach Moss was, a fantasy football superhero because no one knew when Jonathan Taylor was coming back. He was carrying this offense. You see the snap count starting to get closer and closer. Zach Moss owners are not liking it because you saw the difference in week 5. Zach Moss played 43 more snaps than Jonathan Taylor. That went all the way down to 6 in week 6. I think that's going to completely flip-flop. I think JT absorbs about 60% of the backfield here. And the Colts and the Bucs really expect him to. I mean, his rushing attempts line set to 12.5. They paid him a lot of money. I anticipate them to use him on Sunday against the Browns in a tough match. Now, last season, when we saw Jonathan Taylor play 50% of snaps, which I anticipate him doing again on Sunday, he had 70-plus rushing plus receiving yards in 8 of 10 games. He had some tough matchups in there, like against the Titans, a very good, stout rushing defense. But you saw, I won't list out all these totals, but you see on the screen, the man was crushing this total in majority of games. Finished with 63 in one of those, a little bit short. But look, he had some tough matchups in there, and this is a tough matchup. The Browns are not going to be a cakewalk. I'm not coming out here and saying, hey, JT's running for 200. Probably not going to happen. But I do think that the Browns maybe see a downtick in what happened last week. We saw last week the Browns obviously surprised everyone, and they beat the 49ers. Defense looked awesome. But this will be their second true road game, and I wouldn't be surprised the defense doesn't look as great. And the Colts last week saw what happens when you let Gardner Minshew throw it 100 times. Yeah, they got wrecked. They got destroyed. The Colts' number one priority will be establishing the run. This is a Colts team that ranks 5th in run block win rate. It's a very good offensive line. We know that. And the Browns, like I said, only one true road game. That was at Pittsburgh. In that game, Najee Harris averaged 4.3 yards per carry, and Jalen Warren, their backup running back, had 66 yards receiving. So those guys had success, and that's the Steelers' offense. The Steelers' offense, if you're a Steelers fan, Matt Canada, you probably love that guy. No, that Steelers' offense stinks. And look, this is a Browns team that they gave up 26 points in that game. Technically, 2 defensive touchdowns counted in there. But you're thinking about a Steelers' offense only ran 53 offensive plays, very low for, the normal average. So even those guys had great days with only 53 plays ran, and they were down majority of the second half by 3 from the 10-minute mark in the third before they got, I believe, TJ Watt had a scoop and score, and that's how they went up and ended up winning that game. But still, at the end of the day, I think you can have success running against the Browns, and I think the best thing the Colts can do is to run the football. The priority and the number one thing of this Brown defense is their pass rush. I mean, you're talking about Myles Garrett on third down. If it's third and long, That's not what the Colts want to be in. You want to be in second, third and short if you can, so where you can still run the ball on third down if you need to. You don't have to pass it, because if you're just saying, hey, Myles Garrett, we're throwing the ball, yeah, you don't want that. Gardner Minshew will be running for his life. He might die. But at the end of the day, I think the Colts have a chance at winning this game, and you don't win it without establishing the run. So, JT, we're rooting for you to have a big day. We'll take us over 69.5 rushing plus receiving yards. Obviously, if the Colts get down early in this one, you still have the receiving yards there. So it's kind of a punt, or, on a game script. If it is a bad game script for running the ball, we still got some chances for receiving yards. If it's a good game script for running the ball, we got not only rushing, but we also have some passing yards in there too. But let's move to my second pick. It's going to be a guy that was another fantasy superhero, kind of like Zach Moss. This guy still holds some relevancy, just like Zach Moss does a little bit. Maybe that goes away this week. It's Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams. I'm taking a same game parlay with him. 5+ receptions and 50+ receiving yards. This is -110 on Bet365. It's -120 on my DraftKings bettors out there. FanDuel bettors, I wouldn't really try to input it. It's -150 over on FanDuel, a big discrepancy. If you have to play it on FanDuel, you're like, Austin, this is my only book. I refuse to get another one. That's the only place I have money in. Then I'd probably add, the safest leg to you. I feel like Cooper Kupp, 5+ receptions is pretty safe. That gets you a +100, but I'd rather just stick with Puka Nacua, 5 receptions and 50 yards. They kind of go hand in hand. But let's talk about Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, because since Kupp returned, we've still seen Nacua have a pretty decent workload. But let's talk about those two games. The first game that you saw Nacua, 7 receptions, 11 targets, 71 yards. Last week, only 4 receptions on 7 targets for 26 yards. If you remember that Rams game, they really didn't run the ball a lot in the first half. Then they were like, oh, we can run the ball on the Cardinals? Okay, we'll do it. And that's all they did the second half. They just ran all over that team. I don't think they'll have as much success running against the Steelers. Still a good team to run against, but think about Kyron Williams, the guy that had like 150 yards last week. He's out. The other guys, Zach Evans is banged up. They got Darrell Henderson Jr. coming in here hot. I just don't think this is a team that really will establish to run a whole lot. I think they'll lean on Stafford a little bit, and maybe you'll see, some screen plays to the guys like Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. Let those guys kind of get those yards. That would be, a de facto running play, if you will. But we've seen the Steelers. This is a team that's just struggling against wide receivers. They're allowing 211 receiving yards per game to wide receivers, 6th most in the NFL, and 16.7 receptions per game, 9th most. A lot of people are going to be at Cooper Kupp's receiving yards. I think he could have a big day. We've seen that happen time and time again, but I still do think Puka Nacua is that number 2 option. Obviously, I think he's going to have plenty of options. We've seen Cooper Kupp go ballistic in the first half. Teams make adjustments at the halftime. They're like, all right, let's make someone else beat you. And that's where Puka Nacua comes in. He still absorbed, 27 and 29% target shares in the 2 games with Kupp. I think Puka has a pretty good bounce back game. I like him for 5 receptions, but that's like -170. So I'll throw in 50 receiving yards in there too. I like his regular receiving yards at 60.5 too. Go have a big day, Puka. Now, my third and final play of the day before we talk about Underdog Fantasy is going to be another long reception prop. And look, we've done pretty well on these this season. All it takes is 1 reception. So you're never out of it until the clock runs to 0. Let's talk about this guy, Michael Wilson of the Arizona Cardinals, over 16.5 yards for his longest reception. Now, if you've never bet a longest reception, I normally would go to like an ESPN or, one of those box score things. You could just look at their long to see how they did, but you need 1 catch to go 17 yards or longer. Now, I don't mind Michael Wilson's regular over in receiving yards. However, I don't think he gets there without a 17-yard completion. This is the guy that goes deep down the field, which we will talk about right now. Now, if you didn't know about him, he is a first-year receiver, a 3rd-round draft pick, and he plays for the Cardinals. He's played a lot of minutes. I mean, you look at Michael Wilson, a lot of snaps too. He's had a long reception of 15, 21, 69, 33, 18, and 26 yards going over this line in 5 straight games. His average depth of target, as I abbreviate ADOT, 15.5 yards. He's also played on 70% of snaps in 3 straight weeks. He's playing on a lot of snaps in general all season long. They kind of need him out there. They don't have a very deep wide receiver room. So a guy that's got an average depth of target of nearly 15.5 yards, basically what this line is, really all I think it takes is 1 reception for Michael Wilson. That's where he goes. He doesn't run a ton of short routes. He's going down the field, and this is a guy that's really played well for him. And you think about Josh Dobbs, how many more games started does he have under his belt? Kyler Murray returned to practice this week. Maybe they wait to bring Kyler Murray back, but you're just not going to sit him the whole season. So Dobbs has all the incentive to play well, and we've seen him play well and have a good connection with Michael Wilson. You look at Wilson, 18 receptions this season. On the screen, I also have how many yards each reception went for. So you see in week 1, he had 4 and then a 15-yard reception. Week 2, a 16, 19, and 21-yarder. You can go bye. Week 4 was a week against the 49ers. Had a big day in receptions, but 49ers statistically a team that keeps everything in front of them, so not a lot of deep shots there. But you look at him, 9 of his 18 receptions have hit the over. So nearly 50% of his receptions have hit the over. We're just asking for one here today. We just got to land on the right side of the coin. And even if it's not the right side the first time, we've seen him hit the over. I mean, last week, week 6, a 17, 19, and 26 yarder. He hit the over in all 3 of his receptions. So I think the books just have not valued this guy a whole lot. I wouldn't anticipate, maybe they see, oh no, a lot of people are figuring out Michael Wilson. Maybe his line goes up a lot more. But like, this is a Seahawks secondary I don't really trust a whole lot. Seahawks are allowing the most receptions and second most receiving yards per game to opposing wide receivers. The Seahawks are also 8.5-point favorites. They could be leading this game. They're big favorites, forcing Arizona to pass. We haven't really seen the Cardinals play too well recently. And at the end of the day, the Seahawks defense has looked better as of late. They obviously sucked at the beginning of the year. They look better, but you're talking about looking good against the Giants team. They sacked them 10 times because the Giants have me on their offensive line. And last week, I'll give them credit where it's due. They played pretty well against the Bengals, but coming back home, I don't necessarily know if that motivation is there against a team that they should kind of roll over like the Cardinals are. I think that we could see Michael Wilson easily get a 17-yard reception. If it goes up to 17.5, let's go for an 18-yard reception. We've seen him do it time and time again. Michael Wilson, we're counting on you. Long reception props. Let's hopefully cash out. And while they aren't on, those sleeper, Underdog Fantasy of the world, you can just pivot to the regular receiving yards. They normally are going to get that if they hit their long in reception. Now, finally, it's my Underdog Fantasy entry. Let's put it up on the screen. It's 3 guys. I'll talk about 2 of them. I already talked about Puka Nacua and Jonathan Taylor. Just switching to Puka Nacua for receiving yards. The other one is Amari Cooper over, higher than 62.5 receiving yards. If you watched our long shot parlay video, go check that out. Yeah, watched our player props video that I posted on Saturday. Go check that out. Amari Cooper is one of those guys in there. We're trying to turn $25 into $150. A reminder, if you use our code COS or the top link in the description, you get a 100% deposit match up to say it with me, $500. It's a lot of free money to take advantage of. I don't know how much longer they're going to continue that going, but of course you also get that LeBron James free square, which we will use in Tuesday's NBA video when he goes off, and we'll just be using Underdog Fantasy pretty much a lot the NBA season. So appreciate you guys as always. A little impromptu Sunday video, but I think this is a good one. We get hooked up 3 winners here. Reminder, I have 3 other videos. Go check those out for the NFL. We had a ton of action on the whole slate. I've got a lot of good games. I think a really good slate for Sunday football. So enjoy your Sunday. Sit back on the couch, watch those games. I'll see you guys back again for some Monday Night Football, which will be posted late on Sunday night. I'll see you guys then. Peace.